Hello and welcome to Just Hoops. Joel Embiid is one of the best players in the association, and we're going to talk about his all-around impact for the 76ers. This all starts with the Embiid-centric system that Doc Rivers has been able to put together, making everything at both ends of the floor center around Joel Embiid's abilities. But first, let's look at his stats so far this season. You can see he's dominating scoring-wise, averaging 32 points per game, shooting 53.7% from the field, 60% from two-point land, an effective field goal percentage of 56%, and a true shooting percentage of 64%. But in advanced terms, he's fourth in usage right now. He's averaging over a point per possession. His offensive rating is very high at 111. His defensive rating is a 103.5, and his on-off difference is 14.3, just showing how much he impacts the 76ers at both ends of the floor, helping them propel themselves into deep playoff situations. But this video is going to examine the Embiid-centric system and how he's the centerpiece at both ends of the floor, starting at the offensive end first. So the first thing offensively I want to talk about is him as a 5-out threat. So regardless of how he gets the ball in the middle third of the floor, he will get it, and then they do a great job at spacing four guys around him, usually below the break, just to give him more room to attack and play with. But in essence of the offense, this just shows that Joel is one of the most unique bigs in the NBA. His ability to handle the ball, make plays off the bounce, pass from the middle of the floor, and make high-level decisions is so unique for his position, and it leads to him having that 34% usage rate. It leads to him having 32 points per game. It leads to him being the center of this offense. Doc does an awesome job at providing the spacing necessary for Embiid to go make plays for himself and his teammates. You can see that there's usually double-side action if they don't just space. Here in this last clip of 5 out, we'll see an example of an action, of a zoom little set in the middle of the floor to get Maxey going, but then it turns into a pick and pop, playing off of Embiid in the middle of the floor with four guys flat. Next, let's look at where Embiid can dominate the game on any given night from the post. So things in terms of post-ups that I want to talk about are first the spacing, secondly just his overall scoring ability, but first let's dive into that spacing. So here against Atlanta, we'll see him get that post catch, and then they do a good job at spacing four wide. Great spacing around him, really hard to help off of when you have four guys that could shoot it around Joel Embiid, allowing him to go and make a play from down low. Here against Utah, we'll see an example of their typical spacing, which tends to be 2 or 3 wide with the porch loaded. They like having this 3 wide, 1 on the porch, just so that that porch guy could go make a play, typically a non-shooter or just somebody physical. Here against Atlanta, again, we'll see that 3 wide, 1 on the porch, playing around the cracks. Overall, though, this spacing provides Joel Embiid the opportunity to go catch, turn, face the hoop in the low post, and go make decisions for himself and his teammates. In terms of statistical analysis, he's averaging 1.12 point per possession in post-up situations, plus his passes out of the post. So he is completely dominating. He's in the 80th percentile in that statistic, and he just knows how to catch it, go make a play from down low. I think that this needs to be more of a consistent part of the offense. I think they like going to him at the elbow a little too much, but him in the low post, he's able to catch it and dominate and score from inside, from the mid post, and just do it all and be a headache for defenses. But now let's talk about that mid post work that I think is huge in this offense. They like getting it to him in that middle third of the floor at the elbow area and allow him to work. So let's talk about that spacing a little bit and how they like getting him the ball, whether it's a pick and pop, a short roll, or just a seal at the nail like a Dirk set. But this clip here against Utah will dive into the spacing a little bit. They get him on the pop at the elbow, and you can see that they have 3 guys on the weak side. They get that triangle spacing with 1 on the porch, 2 wide, and then they have the strong side loaded with a shooter, so it's really hard to help off of. But that's their typical spacing. 3 on the weak side, 1 on the strong side corner, ready to shoot it if necessary. Here against Utah again, we can kind of see another example of their spacing. He's going to get it off of that pop. He's going to play in the middle of the floor, and as he's attacking, the guys are moving to the weak side to allow him to have the space to attack on the strong side of the floor. Here against Atlanta, you can see that they immediately flow into that spacing, allowing Joel to go to work. These last 2 examples of spacing I want to talk about is how Joel demands the offense. He is the center of it. You'll see him wave the man on the strong side to move through, go to his spot on the weak side of the floor and allow him to work. They like going to that 5 out originally, or 2 on each side of the floor, but he waves them off, gets the space for himself to go and make a play downhill. But now let's look at him from a scoring perspective and some tendencies that I saw as I was watching film. You can see that if he attacks left, it's typically a jumper. These 2 clips here, you'll see him go to his left hand and he gets to his pull-up. That spacing on the weak side of the floor makes it impossible, unless if you send a double, for him to go make a play. That clip right there, you saw him go right and he went to the rim. These are tendencies that I saw while watching the film. He likes going left for his pull-up, right to get to the rim, which is common for right-hand players in the league. But that spacing allows him to do such. He catches in space, and he has the option to attack either way. That ability to go to his left hand, get into his pull-up, or go to his right hand and have the ability of a cleared side of the floor to go make a play downhill is incredible, and why he's so successful in these spots. And lastly, to wrap up the offensive end of the floor, let's talk about Joel Embiid as a roll man in DHOs or ball screen situations. Ball screen offense, especially when James Harden is back, is a huge piece to Philly's system, and Maxi's doing a great job. But let's dive into some of the things that Doc does to allow Joel to be successful. You can see they do a great job of putting a shooter on the same side as the pick and roll to allow there to be a very hard tag, clearing the side for Joel to go make a play downhill on the roll. Here you'll see that same spacing. I know it's Matisse Thybulle, but that cleared side forces a 1-on-2 situation for the offense, allowing Maxi or Harden or whoever the ball handler is to go make a play. They love clearing that weak side porch to move to the strong side and allow the ball handler to also have a secondary option. But this all allows Joel Embiid to get downhill, moving fast, having that stampede going. He has momentum toward the rim. Somebody at his size, his athletic ability, the more he's able to catch and go downhill with momentum, the harder it is to guard. And lastly, he has great patience on these roll opportunities. He might short roll, he might pop, he has variety, and he's able to catch it, turn, take his time, and make decisions out of these situations. Now let's go to the other end of the floor and talk about how he dominates defensively. Joel Embiid is one of the best rovers that we see in the association. You can see here against Utah in this first clip that he is constantly shadowing the ball. Whether or not his man is in action or not, he is floating that paint, making things difficult for the ball handler to go downhill and make a play. Here against Atlanta, we'll see that same thing. He sinks off, even though it is a pick and roll, he sinks off immediately and forces the guards to go make plays in the paint around him. His activity level has been great of late, and it's making things even more challenging for ball handlers to make good decisions or just have good opportunities. This clip here against Atlanta, I think, does a great job at diving into him being great. He's able to stun at the ball, be active with his hands and length, and force really tough twos inside the lane. But in terms of him on the defensive end of the floor, he is holding teams to minus 12 points per 100 possessions when he is on the floor, which is great. He is really limiting offensive opportunities. Regardless of where his matchup is, he roves the paint. Typically, they scram him off to be on an opposing big guy, and you can see that a lot of these teams are trying to throw Joel in action, throw him in ball screens, make him guard. But even so, here against Phoenix, you can see that he does a great job at playing that cat and mouse, making the offense have to pass out or just dribble out in general, or forces them into really tough twos. Lastly, though, he has the ability with his athleticism to go out and make plays on the perimeter. He can switch out, he can be active, he can stunt and recover. All of these things allow him to be one of the best defenders in the league. Regardless of who he's guarding, whether it's Devin Booker like that last clip, Trae Young, DeJounte Murray, any of the guards from Utah, he showed an ability to go out on the perimeter, sit in a stance, go make a play. He can switch out, he can stunt, he does all these things at an incredibly high level, along with just his ability to impact in the lane and make things tough and force offenses to second guess and attack. He is truly the centerpiece of this defense and allows them to be successful. Joel Embiid is the center of the universe in Philadelphia. His ability offensively to catch in space with guys in positions around him. Doc does a great job with spacing and movement off of Joel Embiid, and defensively he puts Joel in the middle, allowing him to work, make things nearly impossible for offenses to get downhill and make smart, under control decisions in the paint. So I hope you guys learned something about Joel Embiid and how Philly formulated their system around him. For more content like this, please like, subscribe, and share, and we'll catch you in the next one.